Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The storylines in the CDL right now simply are not going away. Some trash talk getting thrown down left, right and centre for today's series. So much to dive into. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. This is a quote here from aBeZy. Just before we get into the games, quick Kremp update of the day. He was competing at Barber, Motorsport, Park, whatever it's called. Today, he started second for the second race of the weekend. He dropped down to third after, well, he was battling hard with Schaefer at the start, then made a bit of a mistake, I believe. Ian Porter, I got to be Ian Porter now, not Kremp, because that's what they call him on the broadcast. Not exactly, because I wasn't watching his POV at this point. Then I thought, you know what, we didn't see it on the broadcast, what exactly happened for Porter to go down to third. So I thought, okay, let me tune into his stream again. And I thought Kremp did a great job here managing the backmarker traffic because he took advantage of it really well to close up on the leader. Got second place back, pushed Chloe Chambers, who won yesterday's race really hard. She's a Formula 1 Academy driver with Haas. And honestly, one more lap here, Kremp probably wins this race. He was right in that tell. I thought Kremp was going to kind of say, you know what, fair play, Chloe, like you got me today. But Kremp pushed really hard the final couple of corners. I think he finally figured out like one of the lines he was losing a fair bit of time in the final sector. He figured that out for the last couple of laps, was closing in and was this close. This is the final corner of the final lap here to winning it, but he missed out by tenth and a half, couple of tenths of a second. So great race to watch. Porter is beatable, comes second place again, but still a good weekend for the big man. We've got to dive into the games though, right? Because Legion plays Seattle Surge, and yeah, well, this one went, honestly, I didn't think it was going to be as comfortable as this for Surge, but I did have Surge winning, just not quite this emphatically. And if there's one scoreboard or even just one screenshot to show how lost Vegas are right now, this has got to be up there. If you look at the kill department, it was pretty even. In fact, Vegas got outslayed by 1 kill. So yeah, not bad, pretty even slaying game. They lost by 150, right? Like, what is going on at this point? So, you know, I don't really need to dive into the map to show you that Vegas Legion were, again, not playing fundamentally good Call of Duty. I don't know how their practice has been going, but it can't be good on evidence like this. And it was a common discussion that we had when Purge was on the team. Okay, what did he do for the team in Respawn? How important was he to translating the kills they were getting into actual success? Because Attached, Geo, Nero, they can deliver kills, but translating that into results was happening against the teams they should be beating. They weren't able to quite take the next steps from that, but it felt like Purge was at least playing a role. They felt, though, that a team could do as good a job, if not better. As of yet, that has not proven to be the case. They've not won a map so far. This Vegas Legion team, it ain't pretty. Hixie saying, damn, you dropped Purge for a seam. Why don't you drop him for me? You won't be getting the same kills and winning by 140. And, I mean, yeah, the scoreboard ain't great, is it? Losing by 137 points with this scoreboard is not pretty. Now, Geo had a really rough series today in terms of pure damage, which is pretty rare for Geo. Like, he obviously had an off series. Maybe you think, well, if he doesn't have an off series, then they might win. But I think it's not as simple as that, right? Because the feeling was, well, Purge was enabling these guys to look as good as they did. My feeling still was, I didn't expect them to get worse. You know, I thought that they could well stay the same. I wasn't, you know, massively hyped on this C move, but I didn't expect them to seemingly considerably regress as they have done. And I wasn't sure, and I've discussed this with Trey at length on the Dope Check show, that getting rid of Purge was a good idea. You know, as I said at the time, I'll commend the decision for trying to improve, but that doesn't make it a good decision in the same way that Boston Breach, they got a top 4. They were looking on top of the world in Vanguard, at least potentially ready to chow further up the field. And then, well, they get rid of their team and they placed top 12 effectively ever since that point. So this was a screenshot as well here of aBeZy and aBeZy having a great time. They were laughing at what was going on. Attach and Nero, you know, chucked along as well, but they weren't having a good time here, and it was 04 that really came to play. This guy, man, I'm not gonna lie, the more I see of him, the bigger of a fan I am. He was talking trash to Simp, of course, as we saw this morning, and here he is, shaking his head to Attach after getting a nice couple of kills here to close out a 2 versus 2 situation. Surge comfortably take the search and destroy in the end, and I had another screenshot of it just to make sure that that was particularly clear. To be fair, Surge did make it a little bit harder than maybe they should have done here with the search and destroy, but yeah, here's another classic 04 clip here for the Seattle Surge. So, not gonna lie, this guy is pure entertainment, and it's good to have him in the league, and long may that continue. Even Drazah says, check this damn guy's PC, right? He's absolutely fried. So 04 comes in, yeah, check that, twin, because absolutely he was cooking in the series. They made a mistake here. 04 had a bit of a rough round, then he naded his teammate. and all of a sudden, despite being 12-3, it wasn't actually looking so good. They did in the end though close this one out, and then we go to an Invasion Control, a map that I'm somewhat surprised that Vegas played Surge on, just because Surge's control record is still trash. Yes, they are better with it with 0-4 and the team, and you can clearly see the pacing of Surge makes way more sense now. Like, they actually have somebody playing for the win, I'm not going to lie, with the way that Nastie was playing for the last couple of, weeks, if not a month, wasn't impressive to me. The team just looks way more cohesive now. aBeZy and aBeZy are on the roles they want to run. Hook is always going to be good online, we know this. I know 4 potentially a bit of a star in the making here. This is tough for a team. Sure, he's getting shot in the back, but it's pretty rough, right? He's still got to close out the kill. Another Invasion Control that Seattle Surge go on to win. As I say, I'm not sure why Vegas would just play Surge on a map they've just won, but, it is what it is. You've still got to think you can beat Surge, especially in a situation kind of like this when, you've got the defensive side, you should be able to close it out. Surge get the nice break, though. They get the win. Geo had a really rough one this series, obviously, but, I don't think you can just look at that. You've got to say the entire team looks, frankly, lost compared to where they were before. Vegas look awful the last couple of series. Surge made steps, but this Vegas team, before they traded out Purge, I was convinced they would make the World Championship. I'm now not so convinced anymore, really, on this recent evidence, and I don't exactly know where they go from here, and understandably, lots of the discussion has been, Purge, bring this guy back. Justice for Purge. Maybe he was the glue to the team after all and, was getting disrespected, discredited by many. But I'm not going to lie, if this continues, it says somewhat more about Asim, right? It's another team that he joins that is, again, either not improving, getting worse, or looking pretty mid. So Asim's got to turn it around because his stock ain't looking good at the moment. And the reply to this tweet, well, I'm not actually going to, have a look through them because they're pretty ugly. And fair play to Asim, at least, coming up publicly with a statement here, because I'm sure he kind of knew it was going to get cooked. But as he says, got to fix up for the rest of Stage 3, and somewhere in the reply is saying, well, even if you get the rest of Stage 3, because, who knows whether Vegas just push the emergency panic button and say, what, we tried to upgrade, and now we're going to go back. And even Seattle Surge with a bit of a banger tweet too as well. Gamble at your own risk. You want to make the change. It's not necessarily going to work out. So these were the overall numbers. As I say, I want to give credit to Surge because they have gone from a team that I thought were hopeless to genuinely being a serious looking team, right? They actually look like they're potentially gonna win stuff and trying to win. It's a miracle to watch how this team has actually turned it around off a one-man change, but some role changes as a result, which have seemingly made quite a significant impact. And on the Vegas side, Geo with a 0.73, Asim with a 0.8, both of them with not much damage nor much impact at all. So pretty ugly stuff. The next series, OpTic Miami, this is always a funny one because OpTic hate these guys. Like, they love playing them with no respect. Like, OpTic will happily throw fundamentals out of the window just to try and embarrass Miami Heretics. Like, that is genuinely the way OpTic play here, and it is rather entertaining to watch. We saw this game one. Kenny was frying in this game. He was also talking some trash. He gets a kill into as well. That guy is terrible. Bose certainly picked up on that during the watch party, and it wasn't long after this point that they closed out the game emphatically. So good reps, I think, for OpTic today as well. I think realistically they were never going to lose this series, but I think the fact that OpTic played the maps they did, they got another rep in on Vista, got a couple of reps in on High Rise. I think that will probably prove valuable for them as time goes on here, because that's really what this is about for those top teams. FaZe, OpTic, and even Toronto, they don't tend to lose to the teams they should beat. It's the top 4 matches that have been interesting, and of course Subliners, their record against the lower 8 teams is nowhere near as good as those other teams I just mentioned. So yeah, as JoeDeceives says as well, I should have a guaranteed spot because someone's got to kill Kenny and I could do it, and it's apparently not going to be anyone else. So maybe JoeDeceives needs to get back in the league here, but at the end of this game, Kenny dropped like 38 or something ridiculous like that. He had a crazy takeover game map 1 here. ReeaL was in the absolute blender this game.
He killed him. Yo, Kenny.
Oh, yeah, I'm reaching. I like it. His bag right now.
Oh, he's pissing.
Terrible.
You said they're terrible?
He said this guy is terrible.
But in fairness to the Miami Heretics, they came back well in the game too. Again, OpTic decided to play a high-rise Surge. It's not a good map for them. It's never been a good map for them. And you can see why playing this game. They probably should have won it, to be honest. Well, they really should have won it in the round 11. And they did make a commendable comeback to get to that point. But they're just not very good at this map. I don't know if they will ever be good at this map, OpTic. it just doesn't strike me as a map that they ever really have figured out how to play yet. Maybe they'll get there eventually, and the more reps they get in proper matches, the more likely it is. But the round 11 wasn't great. So Kenny gets himself a streak, and it was good to see Kenny performing well here in the Search and Destroy because, you know, OpTic have needed that lately. But it was a bit of a miscom here, right? Because it's Vikul last alive, Vikul's by the bomb, and in Kenny's position, I don't mind calling in the streak. I think it's definitely probably, I mean, you've got to call in the streak. It's round 11, right? And sure, you can try and hit out the bomb, then get the bomb down, then call in the streak. But if you're going to streak it, you've got to let Dashy not go and plant the bomb, right? Because the problem is here that he calls in the streak as Dashy goes and plants. Really, he needs to tell Dashy, hey, like, wait, type thing. I think they said it was a bit of a miscom here because Vikul is able to kill the planter, get away from the cruise missile, and then all of a sudden Kenny doesn't really know where Vikul is, and Vikul gets the final kill as well and closes out the round. So definitely one of the round 11s of all time. He actually doesn't quite see Vikul there, and Vikul gets the better of him. So, you know, mistake from OpTic there in the round 11, another one, right? And it puts their record on high-rise search to 1 in 5. So they're going to keep working on it, but they are going to need to improve at that map if they're going to play, you know, FaZe in a best of 7 at a major grand final. They're going to need to be a bit better, but you're not going to get better if you don't keep playing it, I suppose. Then we went to a control. This one was pretty wild, actually, because the first couple of rounds were split. Then we had this insane rounds. That was literally 0.1 seconds on the clock that OpTic get into the point, and that is enough. Like, it's actually pretty absurd, this. 2.1, 1.0, and then just about, Pred slides in, gets the kill on ReeaL with 0.1 seconds to spare. They get the ticks, they get the extra minute on the board, they capture the other point as well, and that is effectively GG. So that was a bit of a choke from Miami, but I think that OpTic do deserve credit here for the ice they displayed, and then the final game of the series was reasonably competitive for a time, but it always felt to me that OpTic were going to find a way over the line, which they eventually did. So it was kind of a classic Miami OpTic series. It wasn't a 3-0 this time, so Pred didn't get to throw up the 3-0s. He actually threw up the 3-1s instead, which is pretty funny. I think Shotzzy gave him a dodge, was like, come on, AG, like, throw it up, you might as well. We've come this far, and the overall numbers like this. So OpTic get the job done. A couple of high-rise reps for them. Think OpTic will be pretty happy with this series. And, you know, these games, they don't take them that seriously because they know they're heavily favoured to win and that they duly delivered on. And the final game of the day, not going to lie, I thought it was going to be a 3-0. It actually wasn't in the end, but the way that FaZe dispatched of New York in the maps that they won was, you know, indicative of a series that wasn't especially close. This, I thought, was maybe the funniest part of the series when the game has just started and Cell's already shooting bodies, you know, a minute into the game effectively. He takes out HyDra here, he's shooting bodies, FaZe have got the rotation, and they just absolutely crushed Subliners into submission here. I'm not gonna lie, I think there was a point during this game when New York said, you know what, we ain't winning, we just want to not get 100 point clubs, basically. And I think that was genuinely the Subliners' plan, was, you know, just to try and get some scrap time and hit one rotation so they could get over 100, which they did. So congratulations, the Subliners. You've done well. Simp had a rough time here as well. Okay, HyDra didn't have a good map either, which is unexpected maybe. But when you're getting all blended like this, there's only so much you can do. But, you know, Simp's been doing a lot of barking over the last couple of days. You got a bite at some point. Not sure that was the case today, and I'm sure that his testicles are going to be somewhat concerned about that Seattle series in a couple of months on the evidence of this morning. If you guys don't get the reference, then watch this morning's video, then you know what I'm talking about. Drazah talking trash, as always, and they win the game 250-105. Was not even close. The Search and Destroy, I didn't think looked close either. FaZe up 5-3 here, and they go to around 11. Now, this is, as it stands, an offensive-favoured map. The offensive wins the rounds here 57% of the time. I think Brian Stats put that out there. So, pretty interesting to see. More body shots, but I gotta love it. Like, FaZe are so toxic right now. It is incredible what, I wouldn't say Drazah has brought it out of them per se, but, like, they just have unreal confidence at the moment. And if anyone tells you there ain't a skill gap in COD, I mean, come on. You just got to watch these guys play versus basically everybody else. Now, to be fair, Subliners start bouncing back a bit. Kismet gets a nice double kill. He's shooting bodies as well. Even aBeZy was shooting bodies this series. And New York do bring it back to around 11 here. The round 11 was kind of weird, to be honest. Like, they did allow FaZe just to kind of stroll into the bomb site and win it. Then Skyz was in a 1 versus 2. He finds the first 2 kills, and I guess you can't really blame him for the fact that he didn't win the 1 versus 3. But I feel like Skyz could have done better here. Like, he got the first 2 kills, and there's 25 seconds left. He decides to wrap all the way around mid, takes a really long route. By the time he gets near the bomb site, there's 15 seconds left, and Cell has to do basically nothing to win it. So, I'm not really sure if I agree with Skyz's play, because sure, he should be in his position to clutch a 1 versus 3, but like 25 seconds left, you've got to find the guy, you know? It's not going to work just trying to... Maybe he thought Cell was going to wrap mid or something. I don't know. I don't think it was the best play. Didn't really matter in the end. They lost the round 11. They did win the control, somewhat controversially. aBeZy just flew off the map here, by the way, doing his best Clayster impression, shouting out his former World Championship winning colleague. There was some drama as well on the Cellium seeming stair glitch situation here on the high-rise control. This maybe could have been looked into more than it actually was. And NYSL did come out and basically demolish FaZe 3-0. So they do bleed, you know, and if it bleeds, you can kill it. But the problem is with FaZe, there's not much you could do winning 2 maps in a row, shall we say, because the Game 4 begins and swiftly afterwards the Game 4 ends. Subliners, we know they're not efficient with their kills. Their teamwork was kind of all over the place as well. Just watching them play today, they were staggering so hard. The trades weren't really coming through. Just miles behind where FaZe are right now, and there was never a doubt in my mind who was going to win this Game 4. So GG, FaZe get the win. The difficult start to the stage for Subliners continues. They're now 1-3, but maybe they even got one more map than they expected to get, and well, that is where we are going to leave it for today. Big storyline to dive into this week, such as one of these. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.